Actually, just maybe close your eyes for a minute and let this song kind of sink in for a second. Where's the hole in the pocket? Seems like we were always trying to just see if we could hold on to what we got. My life somehow seems more like a pocket with a hole in it or a cup with a crack. Rather than being able to kind of hold on and store up everything that we've been able to gather, that which we try to cling too tightly to seems to always be slipping away. As if something about the way the world was made was designed to create a sense of temporality. Everything's on its way somewhere, so are we. We can no longer pretend that somehow we'll ever get to a place where everything will just be all settled and we'll not have to have anything to worry about. No scarcity of things or people in our lives. Instead, it seems this world was made for those who could recognize how every moment is a gift. So whatever you've been trying to cling to, maybe sometimes what we've been clinging to is a goal that we're going to get there, and that everything that we've struggled with will never have to be struggled with again. Maybe just sinking into the experience of life is always about a journey. Maybe we can just kind of pray that prayer that we talked about last week, about give us this day our daily bread. Isn't that enough? If we could speak to all that is around us, all that is expressions of some sacred energy in every being and everything, if we could speak to that and ask for one thing, the most important thing on our hearts, wouldn't it be something a little different from what we usually seem to be striving for? And so, Holy One, here are our deepest longings. Our cries of thanksgiving and hopes for grace. Amen. Weapons-producing nation under Jesus, in fabled crucible of the free world, camera crews search for clues among the detritus. Entertainment shapes the land the way the hammer shapes the hand. Faces at the checkout counter of the church of faith. Lucky winners, cheer casino nation. All those not on TV only have themselves to blame. Don't quite seem to understand the way the hammer shakes the hand. Out beyond Ethernet, the spectrum spreads. DC to daylight, the cowboy mobile rides. Never worried where all the gold from party glory's gonna come from. Get along, darkness, it's coming out with your eyes. Intentional cultivation of a criminal class. The future lit by brightly burning bridges. Justice fully clothed to hide a hardened glass. Shadows in 1,000 ruby ridges. Prepare for perpetual war. Let the weapons shape the plan. The way the hammer shakes the hand. Other than the fact that, you know, when Tom and Brad are out of town, I get the chance to play some music, and I always choose to do Jackson Browne. That song was chosen because it had something to say about the scripture for today, and the whole idea of the way the hammer shapes the hand, that rings so true for me about life. You know, the more we find ourselves kind of following after something, the more we do something, the more we have a particular goal, the more we have a particular thing that we're trying to accomplish, the more that ends up shaping who we are, doesn't it? In a lot of ways. Like, for instance, right now, if you were to kind of look amongst your things right now, and think about what is it you have with you right now that is the most valuable thing to you. This is kind of a hold-up, you know. Just take it out for a minute. Take it out. Take out your most valuable thing in your possession right now. What is it? Hold it up. Really? I mean, why not? Hold it up. Jeff will now be coming around with a basket and collect. We really need a good collection today, obviously. No, think about it. What is that? You know, maybe it's a ring, maybe it's a cell phone, maybe it's your wallet. Maybe it's something else in your possession right now. What is it about that is the most valuable thing to you? What makes it the most valuable thing? What we value, of course, somehow has a tendency to have more impact on kind of shaping us. That whole piece about the way the hammer shapes the hand. But I don't think this particular message is just for us as individuals. It's kind of like a community piece, too. What is it that we as a culture have valued? What is it that we have seen as the main thing? And how is that shaping who we are and who we become? There may well be kind of a revolution happening right now, a shift. Some people talk about kind of a shift in consciousness or a shift in our own human understanding. I like to think about it as almost like we've been looking in a mirror, and now more and more what science and psychology and others, philosophy are doing, they've always been trying to hold a mirror up to the mirror. In other words, beginning to get a little bit more of a sense of how is it that we as human beings, how does our consciousness work? So we're getting all this great research that's coming back about, maybe things aren't quite the way we thought they were. Things like, even in the world of quantum physics, there's these bits of information that we're getting that are maybe challenging the thought that everything is like we thought it was. There's this whole thing that actually Einstein discovered, that if you have these electrons that are charged and they're in a particular spin, and then you separate them and you send them off into really distant, different places, if one starts spinning, the other one still seems to follow in suit. There are things about our world that we're just now beginning to glimpse, and some of that is about the way we as human beings operate, how our consciousness operates. One of the things that seems clear is there seems to be a kind of an evolution that we move from a childlike place of feeling and acting to a place where we develop a kind of another level of self that begins to be able to say, it's not just feel, act, now I'm reflecting on how I act. And I notice how I feel. And I sometimes try to control that. So by the time a kid gets to be 5 or 6 or 10, or some of us not till about 50, we start to have this other part of us that's able to kind of say, okay, don't just hit somebody when you're mad. You can control some of what you're thinking and what you're doing, what you're feeling. So there's kind of another level of self that kind of grows on top of that primary, just automated feel and do kind of part of us. And then what happens with that dynamic, what we think may be happening with that dynamic is essentially that part of us that's doing the evaluating and saying, control that, becomes like our own critic. And that part of us that becomes this critic of our kind of automatic feel and do self becomes kind of the master of its domain and conquers us. Many of us are kind of conquered by this part of us that is always evaluating what we're doing, always analyzing what we're doing. You ever feel that way? Like there's a part of you that's always kind of picking yourself apart. If I were going to say, what does it mean to come in from the cold this morning? Or hurry home to your heart? It wouldn't be for us to learn that the values that have shaped us are just from this other level of us that's always in the critical mode. Or that we need to just fully give that up and become these people who don't try to control themselves and just do whatever we feel at any moment. It would actually be that there is a new evolution happening that wants to invite you home in a way that really is about developing another level of yourself. A level of yourself that can just notice and be aware of the way we are always in this critical mode of ourselves. That could also be able to tune in and notice that when I feel something, I can just kind of participate with it without having to judge it or tear it apart. So let me give you an example. When I was a kid, I remember getting told it wasn't okay to cry, be afraid, or be angry. That pretty much shoots most of what you feel right out of the chute, right? I mean, if I cried, I was being a wimp. If I was afraid, I was being a girl. Help me. Most girls were a lot braver than me anyway. I don't know how that got to be such a thing. And if I got angry, I was being a jerk. Or it was dangerous. A couple of times I did get angry, and I punched a guy one time. I realized I can't let that happen. So I learned It's not good to be tearful, fearful, or angry. So I had scripts. I had these scripts that oversaw my natural. If anything came up naturally to cry about or to feel fear about or to be angry about, I would have these other voices, this other layer of self that would say, no, that's not you. You're the cool guy. Chill. Be cool. To be cool is nice. I found myself actually getting along with people really good, except inside, there was a lot of me that wasn't there. So these scripts were keeping me kind of half connected to the people in my life, right? I wasn't able to be angry. I wasn't able to share my fear. I wasn't able to share my distress. This other second part of me that had developed to squelch, I had taken in from the people in my life and from the culture I lived in. And so have you. That's the hammer in our life. It's the hammer that tends to want to put down feelings, that wants to say, you can't do it, don't get too excited, don't get fearful, don't get angry, all of those things. And when those hammers come down on us, they squelch us, they squelch our freedom. Now, I'm not here to say that somehow the best thing for me to do is to just suddenly start crying right now. You know, that wouldn't help you. And it wouldn't help me. Nor would it be that the best thing for me to do right now would be to be overcome with fear. I'm glad I have this second layer. But I want to develop another layer where I can let myself have these feelings, not necessarily as a child, let them just run things, take over my behavior. But what I discover, the more I just allow myself to reconnect with what is naturally there within me. The biology in my body is there. I mean, I was born a crybaby and I still am. So are you. No matter what you learned about what was okay to express. I'm also somewhat of a scaredy cat. And I can acknowledge that and not let it run my life. To be able to tune into what is happening for me means I can get out from under always having to buy into the meaning and the way that my evaluative part of me wants to always shut that stuff down. Now, it doesn't matter whether I want to have a healthier relationship with you or with myself or with the creator of life. These little scripts that I have often been the most important to how that dynamic happens. If I have a way of being that says you can't get excited, then frankly, I'm just not going to be able to get excited. It really doesn't matter what happens. If Jesus appeared in front of me, my script says, don't get excited. You don't want to put that out there. It could be scary. Somebody could make fun of you. So don't get too excited. Or, you know, if something really scary was happening and I couldn't acknowledge that could really, my script would probably control how I responded. And so for you and I, what does it mean to kind of take back control, both in our own lives and in the world around us? I want to suggest two things. One, in our own lives, as we grow a capacity to tune into what's happening inside of us, to just notice what we're feeling, and participate with it without judging it. It doesn't mean that I make a life decision out of a momentary feeling, but to be able to be present in my body with what I'm feeling in the moment can make a huge difference in my relationships. And then when I think about how does this relate to the culture that we live in? So much of the world that we live in has been shaped by particular ways of feeling and behaving that tend to want to squelch authenticity. We spend much of our time, and most of the people that we watch who are public figures spend most of their time trying to act in the way that they think they're supposed to act, right? Say the right thing, smile the right way, act right. What is it that the goal is in that? Mostly the goal is, I think, fit in so you don't get embarrassed. Do what's expected so you don't have to feel humiliation. And so, what has shaped us culturally in a big way is our fear of humiliation, our fear of embarrassment. Something is happening, though. If you get around young people particularly, you discover that there's kind of a rebellion happening against that. Not in everyone. But there's a sense in which that which has been kind of expected norm is gradually deteriorating, just like the music business kind of turned into indie business. Just like the way only a few songs were popular, now anything that kind of gathers some energy can find new expression. We're living on the edge of a capacity for authentic movement. I think the revolution of the time to come is there in the movement of authentic energy, and you can call that spirit. So, how do we connect in that way with that? How do you and I connect with that? I want to just suggest it begins by leaving the goal of hiding from shame and humiliation, embarrassment, and embracing the goal of reconnecting with what feels authentic and true in our feelings, and developing the capacity more and more to not judge what we're feeling, but to be present with it, just to participate with it, not to immediately choose to make it somehow the truth, but to participate with the feeling. My friend Gary David, who I'm bringing here in October to do a seminar, who edited the book, The Art of Awareness by Samuel Blois, would suggest that we have the capacity to move our immediate attention, our awareness, between these levels of self. That there are times where I can give attention to what's happening in my body right now, in my emotion, my feeling. I can also notice that my attention can be brought to that level that's the critic. It's the squelcher. And I need that. It's not to say that that's a terrible thing. I need that. But when my awareness can move to another level of observing all of that working together, where I begin to notice how I'm controlling what I'm feeling, there's a new set of freedoms that can happen for me as I grow that level of awareness. And so, if we are shaped by that which we are always doing, maybe that different place of awareness is where we're growing toward in order to not be so patterned by what the culture wants us to do, which is play small, fit in, avoid shame. The authentic life seems to be about something much richer. So we're going to sing this song as our offering song, and I invite you to bring your offerings to the table as we sing it. It's a song that I wrote a few years ago. It made me think about this as it means for us to take what we're experiencing and share it out into the world.
Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Tell every child, woman, and man drive out darkness, only light can, only light can. Cannot drive out hate, tell every child, woman and man, only love can drive out hate, only love can, only love can. We must be the change we want to see. We must be the change. We must be the change we want to see. We must be the change. David, why don't you sing it? Let's sing this chorus one more time. We must be the change we want to see. We must be the change. We must be the change we want to see. We must be the change.
So let's maybe make a circle, hold hands, and we'll say a closing prayer. You know, whatever it is you find that you value most in your life, maybe just consider what does it mean for us to really value that kind of authentic freedom of being? Because what's most valuable that I see in you, and I think that others see in you, is not what you own, it's not what you use as the tools that have shaped you, but the being that you are. Before I stop, I want to ask Nancy to come up and just say a couple of words. She's got an announcement to make. You want to come share that? Hold on a second. Let's see if I can use this where you can get to it. Yeah, there you go. Stand close.
Stand close. How fun is that? For you guys that don't know me, my name is Nancy Tully, and I'm the Director of Outreach Ministries here at the church. And I'm here this morning to ask you a couple of questions and to challenge you. And here's your first question. Did you know that almost half of the world's children live in poverty? Almost half. You may be sitting there thinking, surely she's talking about children in Africa or India or one of those third world nations. And you would be right. The majority of children living in poverty do indeed live in the underdeveloped nations of the world. But you may be surprised to know that among the developed nations of the world, do you know who has the second highest number of children living in poverty? The United States of America. We have recently launched the Let the Children Come campaign. This is a focused fundraising effort to raise support for our ministries that work very hard every day to help children who are living in need. This, sorry, I've got notes and I've got to follow them. Good. Otherwise, I make a mess. Thousands of children are getting the vital help they need as their families struggle against poverty, abuse, neglect, and domestic violence. Don't want to stand next to me anymore?
No, I just thought I'd give you some space.
Our First Street Methodist Mission provides food for hungry infants and children living right here in Fort Worth. Our Justice Ministries offer free legal representation and advice for parents and grandparents for children who have been neglected and abused. Our children's outreach ministries reach out to local children living in need through Kids Hope USA, the summer enrichment programs at the United Community Centers, and through the Back to School Roundup. Investing in children living in need has been a cornerstone of this church. Quite simply, fighting poverty and social injustice is who we are as a people of faith. Our goal for this summer's campaign is to raise $100,000 to help these children who, through no fault of their own, are struggling every day with these issues. If you have already contributed to this campaign, we thank you. However, we are still almost a third of the way. We're only about a third of the way to our goal. This past week, you should have received a letter in the mail asking for your support for this campaign. Today, I ask you to become an active part in what we are doing to change children's lives who are living in need. Any contribution you make will be an improvement in the statistics that I know that we all find unacceptable. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank Nancy for all the work that you do in helping keep us connected to the needs of the community. So, you can hold hands with me now that we're standing next to each other. So, interesting how the goal that we have will tend to shape us. The goal that we have will shape us like the hammer shapes the hand. So what's your goal? What's our goal together? I was with a group of people last night who had a good goal. It was a goal of kind of all meditating together while listening to a gong. I thought I was going to the Gong Show. Chuck Barris and all, but that's not what happened. They said it's a gong meditation. So we listened for an hour to a guy playing a gong, and we all meditated. And that's really cool. But I also think we are a culture that has a tendency to have a goal of trying to just get ahead to a place where we'll never have to worry or try hard again. There's a kind of a sense in the casino nation that the goal of life is to get enough so you can rise above the struggles of humanity. Maybe it's time we gave up that goal. Let ourselves just embrace that the journey is here. The challenges will always be here. We can embrace those challenges, and it's what we do together in sharing and giving and making the goal something different. Let's pray. Holy One, so bless us and guide us as we go from this place in your peace. Amen.
Why don't you show me ways, save my soul, show me ways, save my soul. I got a hole in my pocket where it all slips away. Why don't you show me ways, save my soul, show me ways, save my soul. I got a hole in my pocket where it all slips away. Where's my head been since this snake dog took a spin? Slipping all my thoughts when I had my life in place. Living on the outside, oh, and I'm looking in. I can't get it together. Oh, you gotta show me. Oh, somebody gonna show me ways, save my soul. Show me ways, save my soul. I got a hole in my pocket where it all slips away. Oh, why don't you show me ways, save my soul. Show me ways, save my soul. I got a hole in my pocket where it all slips away. I got a hole in my pocket. I got a hole in my pocket. I got a hole in my pocket where it all slips away. Oh, I got a hole in my pocket. I got a hole in my pocket. I got a hole in my pocket where it all slips away. show me ways, save my soul. Show me ways, save my soul. I got a